The Spectre Bride. The winter nights in Sault Ste. Marie are as bright and luminous as the Milky Way, a stark white canvas against the infinite black of the sky. The silence that shrouds the desolate landscape seems to be white as well, as if nature itself has frozen sound. Everything is obliterated, except for the pristine white frost. The stars, though visible, seem to belong to a different realm, hanging impossibly high in the inky void. The opaque ether between them and the observer feels like a vast, liquid ocean. It is difficult in such a place to believe that the world is populated to any significant degree. You imagine that Cain has just slain Abel, and that human life is a precious commodity, to be cherished and used sparingly. The night Ralph Hagadorn set out for Echo Bay, he felt as if he were the only man in existence, so profound was the solitude he traversed. He was on his way to his best friend's wedding, where he was to be the groomsman. Business had delayed him, forcing him to make the journey under the cloak of night. Yet, as he glided across the ice, a feeling of exhilaration took hold of him. His skates were sharp, his legs strong, and the crisp, frosty air invigorated him like a spur to a spirited steed. He cleaved the air with the grace of a sharp stone slicing through water, feeling the tumultuous rush of wind around him. As he skated, his thoughts began to wander. He imagined himself as a towering Viking, a great warrior of the Northland, hastening across icy fjords to his love. This reminded him of his own love, a feeling that was always present in his mind, a silent backdrop for his thoughts. He hadn't confessed his feelings to her yet, as he had only met her a few times. She lived at Echo Bay too, and was to be the maid of honor at his friend's wedding. This was another reason why he was skating with almost inhuman speed, letting out shouts of exhilaration with each burst of speed. The only obstacle to his happiness was Marie Beaujeu's wealth and status. She lived in a beautiful house, wore a luxurious otter fur around her neck, and sported little satin-lined mink boots when she went sledding. The jacket she wore, holding a lock of her deceased mother's hair, was adorned with a black pearl the size of a pea. These things made it difficult, even impossible, for Ralph to do more than simply whisper, "I love you." But he was determined to say those words, no matter the consequences. With this resolve burning within him, he glided across the shimmering ice, the starlight casting a pale glow upon the landscape. Venus, the love star, carved a radiant path across the western sky, a beacon of hope for him. He wished he could follow that path of light, but instead he was forced to turn his back on it and face the northeast. It came to him with a jolt of surprise that he was not alone. His eyelashes were frosted, and his vision blurred with the cold, leading him to initially believe it was an illusion. But after rubbing his eyes furiously, he saw it clearly. A figure gliding ahead of him, a long white skater in billowing garments, speeding across the snow like a phantom wolf. He called out, but there was no response. He gritted his teeth, tightening his young muscles, and gave chase. But no matter how fast he skated, the white figure was always just ahead. As he glanced at the North Star for a moment, he realized the white skater was leading him off course, away from his intended path. For a moment, he hesitated, wondering if he should return to his route, but the mysterious figure seemed to draw him forward with an irresistible force, and he followed. Of course, he couldn't help but think that this might not be an earthly guide. In these high latitudes, people often saw strange things when the frost lay heavy on the ground. Hagadorn's father, who lived up north with the Lake Superior Indians and worked in the copper mines, had once welcomed a woman into his hut on a frigid night. She was gone by morning, leaving only wolf tracks in the snow. Yes, it was true, and John Fontenelle, the half-breed, could tell you all about it, if he were still alive. Alas, the snow where the wolf tracks were is melted now. Despite the growing unease in his gut, Hagadorn followed the white skater throughout the night. When the ice flushed with the red hues of dawn and arrows of light shot up into the cold heavens, the figure vanished, and Hagadorn arrived at his destination. As he took off his skates, the sun, arrogant in its power, climbed to its zenith. Hagadorn glanced towards the lake. He saw a massive crack in the ice, the sapphire blue of the water, a stark contrast to the gleaming white expanse. If he had continued on his original path, eyes fixed on the stars, his body propelled forward by his own powerful momentum, he would have fallen into that icy grave. The white skater had been his guardian angel. Deeply moved by this inexplicable event, he walked towards his friend's house, expecting to find the joyous chaos of a wedding celebration. But a somber figure greeted him at the door, and his friend met him downstairs with a solemn demeanor. "Is this your wedding face?" Hagadorn cried, his voice laced with disbelief. "Really? If this is how you're feeling, I'd better get out of here before I catch something." "There's no wedding today," his friend replied, his voice heavy with sorrow. "No wedding? Why, you're not—" "Marie Beaujeu died last night." "Marie?" "She died last night. She was skating this afternoon, and she came home freezing and confused, like the frost had somehow gotten into her mind. She got worse and worse, and she kept talking about you." "Me?" "We were baffled. We didn't know you were in love with her." "Neither did I, for that matter, much to my regret." "She said you were on the ice. She said you didn't know about the big crack in the ice, and she cried out to us that the wind was coming off the shore. Then she cried that you could come in by the old French creek if you only knew—" "I came in that way," Hagadorn interrupted, his heart pounding. "How did you manage that? It's out of your way." So Hagadorn told him the whole story. That day they stood vigil beside the young woman, her head and feet adorned with candles. Across the town, in the little church, the bride-to-be, who might have been his own, offered prayers for her friend. Marie was laid to rest in her bridesmaid's white gown, and Hagadorn stood beside her, as he had intended all along. At midnight on the day of her burial, her friends were married in the gloomy, cold church, and together they walked through the snow to lay their bridal wreaths upon her grave. 3 nights later, Hagadorn set out for home again. His friends urged him to travel by day, but he insisted on leaving under the luminous glow of Venus, hoping for the companionship of the white skater. But he was alone. The only sound that accompanied him was the howl of a wolf on the northern shore. The world was as white as if it had just been created, untouched by the sun's warmth and untainted by man's presence.
The end. If you like the story, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Was there anything that surprised you? Who's your favorite character in the story? I can't wait to hear your thoughts.